Hello and welcome to the second episode of Filling the Gap, your one-stop shop for Pacers Gap Year coverage. I am your host, Andrew Schreiner, and today we will break down what has happened since the Pacers season ended on June 22nd. It was the shortest possible off-season since the Pacers played in the final game of the NBA season, and frankly, that was nice. Given the way it ended, we were able to flow directly from the disappointment of Game 7 to the draft, to free agency, and on into Summer League. And all of those biggest moves of the offseason came early, and things have really been mostly settled since July. So as we're gearing up with preseason ready to start next week or this upcoming week, um, let's revisit some of those key losses and additions since we last saw this team play on June 22nd. Well, the biggest loss is not technically a true loss because he's still on the roster, but Tyrese Halliburton is out for the season. That is 18.6 points, 9.2 assists, and perhaps most importantly, Basketball Reference had him at 10.4 win shares, which is an estimation of how many wins that player added to their team. So you have a 50-win team from last year, you take away 10 of those, you now have a 40-win team that is league average. 41 and 41 is 500. And so we will be looking at a very different team without Tyrese Halliburton. Other notable losses, Miles Turner, 10-year, longest tenured Pacer. He could stretch the floor, he could defend the rim, but contract negotiations simply did not go how the Pacers, I think, intended them to go. Now, had Tyrese not torn his Achilles, I think the Pacers would have been a lot more aggressive in their pursuit, but given the injury, perhaps they were trying to save a little money, avoid going into the luxury tax, and that left the door open for a complete shock. Frankly, the Milwaukee Bucks swooped in, provided him with an offer he couldn't refuse, and had to waive and stretch Damian Lillard's contract out over the next 5 years, which frankly no one was expecting. I understand why the Pacers fell into the situation they did. It really seemed like there was no one who could match what they could match in terms of salary cap, and so that allowed them to be a little more picky, maybe, in their approach to negotiating with Miles, but that left the door open for Milwaukee to swoop in and steal him from the Pacers. Now, I think fans have a bad taste, a sour taste left in their mouth from Miles' tenure with the way he did not perform well in the finals, but he is a good player, and more importantly, he's a unique player who fit our system and will be very difficult to replace. We'll talk about some of the ways they're going to try and replace him a little bit later on, but it's going to be difficult. Just quickly hit on a few other losses. Thomas Bryant, no longer on the team, backup center, was a decent rotation player, acquired mid-season, but he was mostly benched in the finals and conference finals for Bradley's rebounding. He did, however, play a key role in close-out wins against the Cavaliers and the Knicks, and was a solid player. James Johnson also will not be back with the team, who, though he provided very little in terms of on-court production, provided a lot in terms of veteran leadership. I think his absence will be felt, not on the stat sheet, but just in the team culture. And then one other loss that was disappointing to me, but may not make headlines, Enrique Freeman, who was a solid player last year. He played in a few NBA games. He looked really good in Summer League, but he was sort of a two-way casualty. He was a guy I thought would be on a two-way contract. I thought they would elevate Quentin Jackson to a standard deal and give the third two-way contract to Enrique Freeman, but they did not, and he is now with the Timberwolves. Now on to the fun stuff, the additions this year to try and fill the gap, no pun intended, at center. The biggest addition, or the only true addition, is Jay Huff, who I have in my notes here. I've termed him as sort of a Miles Turner light. He can stretch the floor, he shoots well from three, he can defend the rim. He's not maybe as good of a rebounder as you would like. He's not quite as good of a screener as you would like, but I think he will fit the play style of this team. And his contract is excellent. He's only making a couple million, and he's under contract for several years. And so if you can get half of Miles Turner's production out of him at a tenth of the cost. That looks pretty good. Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman also brought back, not true additions. Both were on the team last year, at least to start. Isaiah Jackson for the whole year. James Wiseman was not by the end of the season. But they are additions in the sense that they are returning from torn Achilles. Both of them tore their Achilles early in the season. Didn't get to see a lot out of them. Both are back and added to the mix. I do think Isaiah Jackson has the inside track on the starting job over Jay Huff, but I think Huff is the better fit in terms of play style, and so it'll be interesting to see through preseason who kind of separates themselves for that starting job. And I do think James Wiseman has the inside track for the third spot over Tony Bradley, but as we talked about last time, it's possible they keep both. Other additions, two from the draft, include Cam Jones, who is an early second-round pick out of Marquette. He's a combo guard. He played both the 1 and the 2 at Marquette in different years, playing in kind of different systems or with different personnel, which I think is good. This is a team that needs versatility. We might need that third point guard that he could fill. We'll talk about a little bit more about that in a moment. But I think he's a good player. He looked good in Summer League. And then you have Talon Peter, who was, according to some, an overreach by the Pacers. But looking at his numbers and then his play in Summer League backed this up, I think he's a good fit for the Pacers. He is what we call a play finisher. He has elite shooting numbers, great cutting, lots of layups and dunks. There were some question marks on defense, but he, like I said, he looked good in Summer League. Problem for him is that he's one of 3 guards on a two-way. Ray J. Dennis and Quentin Jackson both have NBA experience. So I think you can expect to see Peter mostly playing in Noblesville for the Boom, maybe with some outside chances at getting in if their injuries start to pile up. The last significant addition we talked a bit about last time is DeLon Wright, who is a veteran going into his 11th season with his 11th team. And I think Pacers fans should hope he doesn't make the team. He's a solid player who played well, actually, against the Pacers in the playoffs for the Knicks. He showed some flashes, made some shots, some big shots for the Knicks. But Pacers fans should hope he doesn't make the team, because if he doesn't, that means the Pacers were impressed by what they saw either out of Quentin Jackson or Cam Jones to be the third point guard, to be the rotation guy, because they're going to need a third point guard. Andrew Nembhard and TJ McConnell are not going to play all 82 games this season. They need someone else who can be the primary ball handler. And if he's the best, then he should make it. Some fans, I think, will want to see Cam Jones, even if he's not ready, just because this is a developmentally focused year. But you need a quality point guard to facilitate the growth of other players. So if Cam Jones isn't ready to be a ball handler, a primary ball handler on an NBA team, he's going to get in the way of Ben Shepherd's development, of Jarris Walker's development, of Johnny Furphy's development. And so if DeLon Wright outperforms those two in camp, he should make the team and be that third point guard to allow the other young players to play within a well-functioning team and succeed, develop that way. And then I actually think the biggest addition to this team will be the development of other players, or at least that's what we are hoping. Andrew Nembhard stepping into the primary starting point guard role. He's currently second in the odds on BetMGM for most improved player. Benedict Mathurin sliding into the starting 2 role in the place of Nembhard, who's moved over to cover for Halliburton, is fourth in those odds. And so if you see big years of one of them emerges as an all-star candidate, perhaps even a third-team All-NBA candidate, then this team could be really good. And more importantly, that sets the Pacers up for success the following year when Tyrese is back. And you're also hoping for major development from Shepherd, Walker, or Furphy, all 3 ideally, at least 2 of the 3 stepping up and showing themselves to be true quality rotational players on an NBA team. Johnny Furphy's looked really good. My friend Jack has asked me to start the Furphy or continue his Furphy for MVP campaign, so we'll see what comes of that. He certainly looked good in Summer League. Well, that is our breakdown of the Pacers offseason. We'll be back later in the week breaking down the Pacers' first preseason matchup with the Timberwolves. That is on the 7th. So thank you so much for your response, your views to the first episode. I was really blown away. Last I checked, I was over 40, and I was hoping for maybe 10 views. So thank you so much. Please like, comment, subscribe, share with all of your friends who love the Pacers and would enjoy some gap year coverage. Thanks. Bye-bye.